Beating Flamengo isn't actually that complicated. There's some tactical tweaks that could let Chelsea breeze through this game, and we're going to discuss that in today's video. But the key to making it happen starts with getting the right setup first, so let's take a look at how both teams could line up. Lads, lasses and the rest of the masses, welcome back to the Forward Press. I'll be putting our Chelsea side into our standard 4-3-3 to start with, and we'll talk about how this can vary in-game in a moment. Personally, I don't expect to see many changes from the side that comfortably beat LAFC 4 days ago. First up in goal will be Robert Sanchez once again. A few great saves helped him to get another clean sheet last time out. The back four is going to be strong but slightly rotated. The first change sees Malo Gusto come in for Reece James, who might not be risked so soon after the last match. The centre-back partnership will remain the same, with Tosin Adarabioyo coming in to partner Levi Colwill once again. Finally, over at left-back will be Marc Cucurella as our only left-back option. Moving into midfield, let's start with the deepest man. I think this will change as Romeo Lavia is managed. I'll be putting Moises Caicedo here instead. Ahead of him, I expect to see Cole Palmer once more, alongside Enzo Fernandez, who was a goalscorer last time out. That just leaves the three attackers, and this will be changing as well. Starting with the right wing, I'll be putting Pedro Neto in again. He got player of the match last time out. On the opposite side, I'll be sticking with Noni Madueke. Finally, let's finish the side off with the man up top. I'm going to be giving Liam Delap his first start in the Chelsea shirt, as he and Nicholas Jackson compete for minutes. Now let's briefly look at our opponents for tomorrow. Flamengo like to set up in the 4-2-3-1 under ex-Chelsea left-back Felipe Luis, and that won't change here. The first player going into the side will be goalkeeper Augustin Rossi. The former Boca Juniors keeper has kept 19 clean sheets in 27 games so far in 2025. The back four will be changing ever so slightly from their last match, but starting at right back once again will be Guillermo Varela. The centre-back duo consists of both Leo Ortiz and Leo Pereira at right and left centre-back respectively. Finally, starting on the left of the defence will be former Juventus defender Alex Sandro, who missed out last game due to a small injury. Next up is the midfield, and I expect this to stay the exact same as that previous game. In the two deeper roles will be Chile's Eric Pulgar, and next to him will be the ex-Chelsea midfield maestro, Jorginho. As for the advanced midfielders, we'll start on the right where Gerson plays once more. In the centre will be Flamengo's top goalscorer, Jorginho De Arrascaeta, and finally on the left will be the man who scored a beauty last match, Luis Araujo. That leaves one man up top, and I expect this to change too. A bit more dynamism comes into the forward line as Bruno Henrique replaces Pedro, leading the line. That's both teams lined up, so now how do Chelsea best their opposition here? Okay, so here we have the two teams. Firstly, we've got Flamengo in this 4-2-3-1. We've got Chelsea in our 4-3-3, but I'll change this into how this will operate in game. I think after what we saw in the LAFC game, we're going to actually see Marc Cucurella being the left back that kind of inverts here, and he's actually probably going to stay in the midfield too. Something we don't really often see from him, as he's so used to getting forward, is that he can actually play in this inverted left-back role and play as a central midfielder, and he kind of did that a lot more when we had Reece James on this right-hand side. We do not have Reece James on this right-hand side for this game, although I do think he can play. I'm personally being a bit kind of cautious with him. I don't want him to play too many games in a row and get injured again, especially with these horrible Astro pitches that we're having to play on. Injuries can always happen, and we get to see this formation where we set up in the 3-4-3 again, with this box midfield, which is something that we started to see at the start of the season and the start of the tenure of Enzo Maresca, but we kind of transitioned away from that at times. Into the more kind of Palmer going central and us having like a 3-1-3-3 at times, right? That's how we usually set up. Now we've got this box with Cucurella here, and this may sound a bit weird, but I think this suits some of the players a bit more than that other formation, because Malo Gusto, I think, is one I want to pinpoint here. I think he personally had a very, very good game when he came off the bench against LAFC. He seemed much more back to his best in terms of his defending and, you know, being aware of things and not just looking like a completely different footballer. He looked like Malo Gusto, and I think part of that was because he was tasked at being a defender. He was tasked at staying here, not having to get into midfield too much and kind of have to be surrounded by players. I think he deals much better when he is on the ball and when he is defending, when he has got less players to worry about, because obviously this 180 degrees is completely cut off by the touchline, right? So he doesn't have to think about players being behind him or being over here. He just has to think about all the players that are kind of on this side of him, and that makes him play so much better. And again, he's got back to his best in terms of his defending too, so he's a player that I think benefits from the system a bit more. I think Caicedo kind of benefits from the system a little bit more because he's got the extra support from Cucurella here, and he's not just left as a lone centre mid here. Obviously, he can play as a lone centre mid. He's fantastic at doing that, but just gives him a little bit extra support, a little bit more of an escape, just in case someone kind of presses him here. And also, because of the two midfielders here, it allows us to progress the ball a little bit further up to these kind of central players and then play from there. So overall, I think that this system kind of works for us. As for the Flamengo backline, the only thing that they really change at times is sometimes Jorginho will drop into the backline here, and they'll kind of play as a three at the back, and the two fullbacks will get a bit higher, and they kind of play like it's a three at the back system. That's just a kind of in-game change that they do, but it's not really how they set up. Now, as you can see here, I've highlighted three players in particular, and usually when I do these previews, I talk about our opponent's weaknesses and their strengths and how to kind of combat their strengths and capitalize on their weaknesses. I'm not going to be doing that today. Instead, what I'm going to be doing is focusing on these three main threats in the team and kind of explaining why I think that these are the three we need to look out for. These are the three that we need to add extra attention to, how to kind of counteract how well they play, and ultimately how to win this game pretty easily by shutting these guys down. Now, I'm going to be showing in-game examples during this preview of all the things which I'm going to be talking about here when it comes to these three players, and we're going to start on this right hand side with Guillermo Varela. Now, as I said a little bit ago, sometimes they do like to push Jorginho into the back line, and they push their fullbacks really high. That goes for both sides, but Varela is the one that I earmark as kind of the danger man, because he's the one that not only likes to get really high and get into these advanced areas, but his delivery is better than the other side. He is the fullback that's got the most assists in their team. He's the player that has the third most assists in the team currently with 3, and his delivery in general has been really good. And again, I'm going to show you some examples of how good he can be on this right hand side, because he's kind of a marauding type of right back. He gets really high in terms of sometimes even being higher than the centre forward, and again, I'll show an example of that. But it's not just that, he's quite dangerous in the fact that he can interchange with his winger very easily, and they do a kind of a mixture of overlaps and underlaps from him. So this player can obviously come inside and allow him to go around the outside, and this again presents quite a lot of danger against a single player like Colwell if we haven't got a player back to kind of support him there. But also he can sometimes tuck into the midfield here and make this underlapping run, or just provide support centrally for the winger to go around the outside. And obviously this will be Araujo at times. He'll play on this side, and he's again one of their big danger men, and he can obviously put the ball in, or take on his man or what have you. And again, I'm earmarking him specifically because he's a player that, if left alone and not countered at all, will just create chances for the opposition, will just be a massive nuisance, and in general will get them success. Okay, so this first example is a really good showing of what Varela is all about, right? We see the ball is with the central 10 here, as they're kind of moving through on transition. He's already pointing that he wants the ball to go in behind, and you can see just how high he is. This is their right back, and he is the furthest man forward. This is obviously one of their other strikers, I believe, and he's literally the furthest man forward. So he's looking to get this pass in behind, and obviously with this amount of space, and again him not being marked at all and kind of being left out here, he's going to receive this ball. We'll obviously speed this up along to here. He gets the ball, and again, look at this. The ES Tunis backline absolutely nowhere near him. He's got all of this space to run into, and he's going to be able to not only kind of, if he wanted to, he could run and take a shot here, but he's actually going to try and provide for his teammate. And what we get to see eventually is, as he kind of controls this, and he admittedly miscontrols this ball quite a bit, but miscontrols the ball, it goes wide. And now we already see that his kind of forward partner here is busting a gut to get into the central area, because he knows that the ball is going in. He knows that when the ball gets into this wide area with Varela with this much space, he's going to put the ball in and he needs to get there. What ends up happening though is that the ball runs a bit wide, because again the touch is not very good, so he has to stand it up to the back post, and he stands it up to the back post, And again, this is going to go completely over the head. And again, this is criminal from the defender. Again, I told you there's a bit of a discrepancy in the kind of, you know, the actual quality of the two players here and in the two sides in general. But he is just simply not close enough to block this cross. He needs to be getting closer to him. He needs to be forcing him to either play it off him for a corner or, you know, kind of get that double ricochet for the goal kick or something. He needs to get there quicker because he doesn't get there quick enough. This is a half-hearted attempt to block the cross. The ball is already travelling into the box, and as we see, as we play on here, ball goes to the back post where it's being going to be picked up by another player here, and again they get a little bit of a ball in, and it's a very smart ball, to be fair. I think this is from Arujo, actually, I'm not sure. And the ball obviously goes into the number 10 here, and they get a goal from it. It's their first goal of the game. Within about 17 minutes, they get a first goal simply because they have completely neglected to track this runner ever. And again, he's gotten really, really high and gone into the box there. In the second example, we get to see pretty much the exact same thing. As we can see, from the players' kind of body positions here, they're running back to defend because the ball has been progressed forward here. The ball has come out to Varela on this right-hand side, and again, there is no one near him. He's got all of this space to run into because the bodies have kind of committed centrally to kind of deal with the central players. He's got all of this wide space, and he's going to be able to pick up the ball and surge forward to kind of be able to provide for his teammates. And there's just not enough of a reaction here for the players to get back and stop him. So the ball's going to come out here. Again, we sped this up. Again, when he gets the ball here, this is genuinely kind of frustrating to me. If I was their coach, I'd be really, really mad here. Why is this player not busting a gut to get back to stop him? Why is this player not coming out wide to try and stop him? It's very bizarre, and he's just going to wander forward. And with all of this space, again, he's still not even being tracked when he's here. And you can see him winding up for this cross. The ball is going to go into the box. And though it doesn't actually make it to the man he's kind of expecting it to go to, they get another opportunity from this because it's a free ball. They win the second ball here with Gerson. Gerson's going to take a strike, and luckily for them, they save it. But it's another example of just Varela being completely and utterly ignored on this right hand side, and when he is ignored, he gets that space and that time. His delivery is usually good, and even if it's not accurate in terms of getting to the man he wants, it causes problems. It causes opportunities to arise. So how do we stop Varela here? Now, there's a few things we can do. I think the first thing is that we need to double up on him, which is crazy to say considering he's not a winger, but at times he does act like a winger, so you can kind of defend him as if he is one. If we kind of tuck the wingers in here and we play him as high as he usually does, again, it's a matter of getting Cucurella back in time for him to not be able to kind of have all this space to kind of work with, and be able to obviously get him back into a position and hopefully get someone like Caicedo over here as well, so he can't just easily breeze past everyone and then put a ball into the box. He can't easily, you know, just stand here free and have all the space and time in the world to kind of pick out a ball. He needs to be pressed. That's another thing. We need to be obviously pressing him when he gets on the ball so he doesn't have free deliveries, and in general just get really tight so he can't easily maneuver the ball forward. And even if he's not going to be crossing it, obviously he can try and look for passes inside if this winger has made a run, because this is a common thing they like to do. They like to get him wide on the ball and then, you know, get a run in behind and play that ball in. Kind of similar to how we saw us score with Delap making this type of run. Sometimes they like to do this as well. But the main thing which I would like to suggest we do is actually just attack down his side. Now, we saw this from the ES Tunis game, that basically the main thing that kind of stopped him from being able to do this was the fact that he was having to be forced back in the second half. He wasn't able to completely get forward because he was having to defend so much. So if we can attack down this left hand side, get some kind of pressure on him from Neto, not only is he going to have to come back to defend, obviously, but it makes it much harder for him to venture forward if there is just a player standing here. He can't just, for example, in the build-up, he can't just go up here, because if they lose the ball, for example, from a straight pass from one of their centre-backs, we've got an easy pass into Neto, and then he's free to kind of attack into the box here. He can't commit forward that high, and it kind of makes him a bit more wary, especially if previously in the game we've been going down this side a lot. It will push him back and force him to be a bit more defensive, which is exactly what we want. Now, this is an example of how to kind of combat him in a way at times. And this is just, again, putting on that pressure. I spoke about this a lot in this video. I will speak about it a little bit later as well. Like, how much we need to press their team because we can't let them be comfortable on the ball. Now this is from them. They're obviously in possession. They're trying to play the ball up, and he's reluctant to kind of get up as high as he can because again he's got a player next to him. And what ends up happening here is that he gets pressed and he has to run back to his own goal, and because of this pressure and him having to play this ball back, he plays a bad pass and they win the ball here. And they're going to get an opportunity, and it's a very rare opportunity for them. This is a side that, again, I said, are much lower quality, and they are actually going to be able to get an opportunity here. And we actually see that the way that they've kind of set their team up at this point is that Jorginho here is acting as the central centre back at this point, and they have kind of committed some of their kind of defensive players forward, Varela being one of them, and they kind of expose them and get an opportunity here. They get to run up the pitch, and again, we'll skip on here. And then they get a shot from outside the box, and if this shot is much better quality, they get a goal here from, again, simply just because their right back was, you know, unable to kind of play the ball where he wanted to. He was unable to get up the pitch because he was being pressed back and they were kind of, you know, stepping onto him. And he gets a strike, and again, unfortunately, it goes over the bar. But if this is a much better quality side, for example, Chelsea, if this is Cole Palmer, for example, maybe this goes into the back of the net. Now, let's move on to the second player that I've earmarked here, and that is De Arrascaeta, the central 10, their actual number 10, and by far their clearly their most productive player in terms of getting goals for this side. He has 13 goals and 6 assists in the space of 27 games in 2025, and in the Brazilian Serie A alone, he has 9 goals and 4 assists in the space of 9 games, which is an insane return. He is their talisman and their most likely goal scorer in this game. And again, he's another player for them that just makes things happen. Obviously, he's a creator, that he can be a creator from this side. He likes to get into the box. He's that type of cam. He's not the type of central attacking midfielder that kind of, you know, is always looking to play a pass into the box. He's a player that likes to box crash. He likes to get in here. He likes to scrap and kind of fight for those second balls. I think is something that he's really, really good at. For example, if the ball has been swung into the box by one of the wingers, especially Varela, if the ball swung in and it's kind of defended, he's usually the player that will get on the end of it after it's kind of defended and get goals that way if he can get strikes off, or again, or just pick up the ball for assists. He's very, very on the ball, as it were, to kind of just kind of sense out where the danger is and be able to get himself into positions where, again, he can get free, he can create for his teammates, or he can just score goals himself. He's a very, very decent player, and arguably, even though he's not going to be the complete focus for this game, in my opinion, I think he is the one that we really need to watch out for in terms of their attacking threat. Now, we're going to show his goal from this previous game, but not just the actual scoring of it, because obviously we've kind of already seen him score the goal. We're going to talk about like how he positions himself here and how he gets into the opportunity to like get that goal in the first place. First of all, we can see here, as he's kind of got Jorginho on the ball, he's already moved into the central space, right? He's already looking back, expecting this ball to go into him. And again, no one really gets close to him, so he gets this ball pretty comfortably from Jorginho. And then once he obviously gets the ball here, his first intention, his first thought is that he's not going to, you know, try and pass it back or whatever. He's going to progress. He wants to get on the half turn. He wants to spin and try and see if he can play a ball up to someone. And his first thought, obviously, because again of how wide they set up, is okay, let's get it out to Varela. It's a really good pass to him. And as we've kind of seen this, we've seen this last bit, so we'll skip on a little bit here. Now the ball is going to come in from Varela, and the interesting thing which I want to show you here is kind of how he positions himself in the box. The ball is obviously going over everyone's heads, and it's going to the back post. But watch what he does here, because he's going to come into frame now on this kind of on the center circle, and what he does is he doesn't like move around and try and find a space to kind of, you know, get the ball. It's not that type of movement. It's specifically, he's very smart in the fact that he stays where he is in the central area, in the box, on the penalty spot, expecting the ball to drop to him so he can shoot. And what ends up happening is the ball does come towards him, and it's not even really kind of like, I'm not even sure if this pass from Araujo is actually intended to go to him. It's more so he's just trying to get something on it to kind of put it back into the area. And as we kind of see, there's two players here, and he's going to receive the ball because there's no one actually like marking him. Despite this player being here, he's not really preventing this ball to getting to him, and there's no one behind him, for example, or like in front of him to kind of block the shot. The other two centre backs are kind of occupied by the striker. Very good work from the striker here. And again, the ball's going to come to him, and he's free to, and this is such a good shot because he doesn't overthink this. He doesn't go, okay, well, I'm just going to smack it with loads of power, try and get it kind of towards goal. He knows that if he gets this ball in this central area with this much time and space, again, no one kind of closing him down to stop him from taking the shot. He just easily passes the ball into the net here. It's a side foot into the net. It's not even that hard, and he scores. And again, this is a simple kind of technical thing that he does pretty much every game. He's getting into those areas where he can win those second balls and get on the end of things and get goals. All right, so how do we stop him? Well, this one's a bit more kind of, it's down to the players and kind of like player profiles. This could be a tactical thing we can deploy. For example, deploy Caicedo to just be on him all game, and basically the main thing is that we need to limit the amount of time he can get on the ball. If the ball is with one of these sixes, for example, this ball into him cannot happen. We have to press from the front to stop this kind of being able to be an easy pass into him. Or if the ball does go into him, we need to see that classic Caicedo kind of play style, right? We need to see him getting to the back of him, not letting this ball easily come into him, allowing him to turn, that type of thing. We need to just stop him from getting the ball at all costs, and kind of do what we've saw throughout the majority of last season that teams did to Cole Palmer, where if he was getting on the ball, they were paying extra attention to him. It wasn't just, okay, we'll let him have the ball, he's not going to do anything. He is the one player in this team that I think that if we do leave him alone and give him that time to kind of, pick his pass and get his head up and spin on the ball and play forward to over the wingers. Again, he can play the ball over the top for Varela if he's made a run up the pitch. He's a very dangerous player, and I think he needs, again, with this kind of extra commitment into the midfield with Cucurella, I think especially we kind of just need to make sure that, again, when he gets on the ball like this, these two kind of paths are blocked. Obviously, the striker can kind of be passed to, but that can be dealt with by Tosin. We need to, again, just step on him if he's about to receive the ball. And in general, I think with the box midfield, we can kind of do this quite easily. You see here how isolated he can be if he is the lone player in the central midfield up against our four with these two kind of deeper players here. Now, again, because they don't play a three-man midfield in a typical sense for like a 4-3-3, these players aren't going to be here and kind of getting high. They are very much a kind of defensive 6 and then a 5 with Jorginho, right? So they're going to be the kind of players that sit back quite a lot. Though Pulgar will at times kind of venture forward a little bit more to try and kind of get some passes further forward. It's not really in his kind of game to do that. He's going to try and sit back a little bit more and be more defensive, and it's really about can they get the ball into him. And I don't think that they've particularly kind of come up against a team that does this box midfield and this isolation of this central attacking midfielder as much as we do. But in general, I will say that Flamengo are very good at navigating the ball through midfield, so this is definitely something we need to watch out for. They could very easily pick us apart with passing. It's something they're very good at doing. And again, unlike what I said in my preview for LAFC, this is not going to be a game where it's simply we are the better side so we should win. This is going to be a real tactical battle, and I think Flamengo definitely have the quality in their side to be able to cause us problems from this midfield. And again, I think De Arrascaeta is one of those players that if we give the time and space on the ball, he's going to hurt us. We can't allow this to happen. We need to be getting tight to him. Now, we know players like Cucurella and Caicedo are going to be doing this anyway, because that's just in their nature to press really hard. But again, it needs to be smart presses. It can't just be running around like a headless chicken and kind of, putting on pressure. It needs to be kind of directing him into either playing the ball backwards and not being able to make inroads, giving the ball away to, again, a player like Enzo, for example, if he's trying to play this ball backwards, or just getting the ball off of him via tackles if he's trying to turn. Right, we cannot let that happen. We have to kind of shut him down before anything gets created. Now, this is the kind of best example that I can find in this short kind of highlights video, which I can actually access, to kind of show off what kind of how to deal with him. And we can already see here that he's being kind of watched closely by this defensive midfielder, and that's something that they kind of did in the second half, is that they kind of deployed him onto the number 10 and basically just said, hey, just follow him around the entire game. Just follow him around. This is from a throw-in. We'll quickly skip this on a little bit here. The throw-in comes in, and then obviously they're gonna try and win the header here. And you can watch as well already. Again, he's just sticking to him. He's not not straying away and trying to move into space or whatever, or leaving him there. He's very much on his on job here. When the ball goes back to this player and it gets knocked back towards him, the reaction of this player is great to because he's gonna try and win this ball aerially. Obviously, he's gonna scrap with him, make it uncomfortable, not allow him to get the ball free. And when he does look like he's about to get the ball and turn, and again, don't encourage us to play a little bit of kind of dark arts here. He just decides, you know what, you're not getting past. He doesn't care that he's going to be giving away a foul here. If he gives away a foul, sure, they get a free kick on the halfway line. That's not really much of a danger. There is more danger, however, if he allows him to turn like this and then allows him to play it, wide to this player who can then obviously run up the pitch and they can get an opportunity. He says, you know what, you're not getting past me. He's scrappy. He gets tight. Don't even know if that's a foul, to be honest. I can't really see it clearly enough from here. Maybe he gets a touch on the ball, I'm not sure. But the referee gives this as a foul anyway. But that's how you need to deal with him. You need to not let him be comfortable, not let him turn, not let him kind of get into space and just do whatever he wants. Make it scrappy. And you know what? Caicedo can do this. Caicedo is a player that can definitely do this and just, rough up players. He's very good at doing that. At times, as well as just winning the ball. I think that's another thing that we can kind of do here, just like stop him from getting comfort on the ball, and if we need to make fouls on the halfway line to stop them from progressing, so be it. I would also say the other thing to watch out for, like I mentioned before, he's very good at feeding off of second balls. We just need to be smart when it comes to those balls going into the box. If we're going to be getting clearances onto things, we need to make sure they are actually clear. We need to be pushing things to the side, not pushing things outwards towards the opposition attackers again. If Sanchez comes for a claim, he needs to actually claim it. He can't be doing one of those sloppy punches that we often see goalkeepers do. And yeah, no kind of, winning the ball at the back post from a long ball and heading it back towards your own goal, that type of thing. We need to be able to win the first ball, but after winning the first ball, we need to win the second ball too. So it needs to be pushed away into an area where we can do that. Now, the final player we need to talk about is the final player I've earmarked here, and that is ex-Chelsea midfielder Jorginho. Now, I'm not talking about him simply because he's an ex-Chelsea midfielder. I'm talking about him because we saw from his debut that he is absolutely the talisman in this side. And he is the player that every single good thing about Flamengo goes through. He is the player that gets the ball the most in this team. And it's very similar to kind of what we saw when he was playing for Chelsea under Mauricio Sarri. He's that player that, allows his team, gets on the ball as much as possible, is able to play the simple stuff and keep things ticking, play those simple passes to keep possession. But he's kind of added, at least we didn't see this particularly as much when he played for us, because I think Sarri was kind of against the direct kind of football that he wants to play. The thing about him, which is so special, is the fact that he is always the player that tries to get this ball into the advanced players. He's the player that tries to get the ball through the lines, and this is what I kind of said earlier, that we need to kind of stop this from happening. I think that he is the one that's going to be doing this. And the thing is, he doesn't just do this by, I'm going to get the ball and play it forward. He's very, very smart in the way that he does this, because his positioning is excellent when it comes to positioning himself into kind of space to get the ball from his teammates, but also not just to get the ball, but specifically to kind of maneuver the enemy team. What we kind of see from him all the time, and we saw this when he was playing for Chelsea as well, but it didn't really work out as much, is that he's constantly pointing, telling his teammates where to go and where to pass the ball to. And that's not just because he wants to be kind of a leader and help the team. It's very specific in managing where the opposition are going to go, so he can then get the ball in space to then play forward. We see it often when for example, the centre back is on the ball here. He will drift to this left hand side, for example, and drag a player here and ask his centre back. He'll say, hey, don't pass it to me, pass it this way. So then the kind of players get dragged towards this side when the ball goes over here, and then he's free to receive the ball from a square pass, and now there's the space for him to play forward. He does this so well, and it's so seamless. And again, it doesn't seem like much because he doesn't move around a lot. He's not making like erratic movements, but he kind of drifts into positions where he can get the ball into space and then play the ball centrally with kind of direct passing. And I said I'm going to show some examples of him doing this really well, and showing him doing the kind of directing of his teammates, but also that direct passing forward, because it's very important. In fact, it actually gets an assist in that last game from a direct pass a little bit further up than we usually see Jorginho, but he gets a very good pass in to kind of showcase how good his passing is. We know how good his passing is. We've seen those kind of first time balls over the top that he can do sometimes when he receives the pass from his teammates, for example. If the ball goes into him, we saw that when he played for Chelsea. He'd get the ball and he'd immediately one time pass the ball over the top for a runner. He can definitely still do that, though I think he's a bit more kind of controlled in the way that he plays in this team. The other thing that he does, as I kind of mentioned previously, is this dropping into the back line, right? To not only kind of, again, be the player that's kind of dictating play, and let's put Delap here just so I can put him here. Not only being the one who can dictate play, but it also allows, obviously, the two centre-backs to occupy these wider spaces and the full-backs to get higher. Not only, again, to make this kind of more attacking threat with their fullbacks, which they like to do, but also to just give them a bit more control. You know, if the ball is going back here and we're pressing, as Chelsea often do, he will kind of come into the back line and say, hey, let's play slower, we can keep it in these kind of back areas, and then obviously once kind of the opposition kind of gets forward and this opportunity arises, the ball can then go into these new spare men here, either out wide, or we can get a crossfield ball over here to someone who's free. It's very deliberate in the way that he does this. He doesn't just do it for doing its sake. It's very much I'm doing this because the opposition is kind of forcing us to play a different way. And we probably will see this in this game because, again, we're a team that likes to step on the gas against teams. We've got very, very high presses here. So overall, Jorginho is just kind of so important to the way that this team wants to play now, because he's a player that does control the tempo of games. He's the player that kind of dictates where the ball goes and how it goes there. And in general, he, again, for a side that likes to play possession, we saw this against Tunis, they like to play with the ball. They're not a team that wants to sit back and counter-attack us. They will try and get on the ball as much as they can. They'll pass it nicely. They'll play good football. That's something that they like to do. And he's integral to this because, again, we saw basically a man of the match performance from him in the last game, of him just completely dictating the game. They got about 69% possession, I believe, and he was central to that. In fact, that he was kind of getting the most touches, you know, getting the ball constantly, making it move, and that's something we have to watch out for. Now, this is our first example. Obviously, we've got Jorginho, the number 21, in the middle here, and he's completely unmarked at this point. And in general, the marking is not the greatest. But the thing which is really good here, and I'm going to show you it, is how this is the first goal that we've already seen. This is kind of how the goal starts. It's being built up from the back. He's obviously got himself into this nice pocket of space. The ball's going to go into him, and as he's receiving this ball, you can already see that he wants to do what he always has done, right? He gets the ball one touch, pass it forward, and he does this perfectly. He takes the ball one touch, gets his head up. We can already see that he wants to play this ball direct through the lines. He doesn't care about this line here. He wants this ball to get forward. He wants to progress. He's not going to, you know, pass it sideways to this player and waste time. He wants the ball forward as quickly as possible, get it into these central players or this central 10 or whoever has moved in here. They do like to rotate at times, but mainly the central 10. He wants to get it forward into that line as quickly as possible and then get them going forward. That's exactly what he does. One beautiful pass, perfectly weighted, allows the player to get the ball and turn, and then obviously we've seen the rest. The ball will go up to Varela and then the ball will go in and they'll get a goal from it. And that seems very simple, but it's something that's really difficult to do if the opposition kind of midfield are stopping you from playing those ball through the lines. They're cutting them out. A player like Caicedo, for example, is very, very good at doing this. It's part of the reason why he's the best in the world, in my opinion, in his position, is because he's so good at cutting out those types of balls. Obviously, as Chelsea fans, we know how imperative this can be to winning games. We saw it all the time with N'Golo Conte when he was in our side. That ability to stop those balls from going into these central players from a kind of creative, deep-lying playmaker is imperative. And against someone like Jorginho, it's something we absolutely need to do. Now, this is another really, really good example. They've just suffered an attack and they've just recovered the ball and they're building out from the back again. We see Jorginho in the centre here. The ball is with the player here on the left. And I can't show the whole clip. I really wish I could show the clip in its entirety because it's a very good, beautiful bit of passing play, and if you go and watch the extended highlights you can actually see this in full. But we're going to see Jorginho and how he kind of dictates this entire move and helps their kind of team build up from the back. First things first, he obviously receives this ball here. He's going to play it backwards to where the space is. He's not going to force anything that he doesn't need to. Obviously, you can see this player's being marked at this point. There's no real kind of avenue to get it forward. So he's going to recycle the ball, let it go back, right? Now, from the centre backs, the central defensive midfielder here, Pulgar, he's going to receive the ball, and it's obviously it's very interesting to see what he does, because he's going to open up his body here and look to play this pass this way. He's going to decide against it, but watch what Jorginho does whilst he's on the ball here. And obviously, this is something that if you're not specifically looking at Jorginho, you might actually miss him do this. Watch his left arm here, because this is really interesting. And he's going to obviously attempt this ball forward, and he's already, you can see him moving he's going to move his left arm, and he's asking this player to tuck in and go here. He's saying move around, and you'll see this here in a little bit. Look, he's like, look, go behind. He's looking behind him, he's scanning to see it. This player immediately seeing the pass go to Jorginho has said, okay, then I'm moving into this position. And again, it's just really, really smart. It's such a simple thing, but he's directing players where to go to change the angles and change the kind of direction of where the ball's going, change where the opposition is marking and things like that. He's going to get the ball. And now, because this player's kind of moved out here, there's a little bit more kind of worry from this player that, oh, there's a guy here, I need to kind of stand here and hopefully be able to get the ball if the ball goes back there. And what Jorginho is going to do is he's going to open up his body, and because he's wary of this player now, he can play this pass through the lines up to this player here, and the ball's going to go through, because this guy is standing here worrying about the pass going out here. It's so simple. It's just a slight movement from the centre back position here to, or the left back position here, to come up here. And he's just said, like, hey, just go there a little bit. And because the attention of the player is taken, he's now like, cool, okay, that's where the opportunity is. And though this player is not going to receive the ball particularly greatly here, he's going to be kind of challenged for it. They'll win the ball here, and obviously they'll progress again. And I'm going to show more of that progression in a second here, but again, I can't show the whole clip. Now, after about, I would say, 15 seconds of them kind of passing it around and moving it up this kind of left wing, but also kind of not making too many inroads, the ball has kind of progressed forward, and it's pushed all the defensive players kind of back into their own half, where before they were kind of up here. They're all now back here. The ball comes back to Jorginho, who's kind of drifted off into the left-hand side, and you see now he's got all the time and space in the world to see where he wants to pick out the pass. Now, I'm going to give you a few moments to try and guess where he's going to play this pass to, and I don't think it's that particularly hard from this freeze frame. You can already see the number 10, he's begging for the ball in this central area. Look at all the space he wants to move into to get this ball, and Jorginho says, yep, you know what? There's no one stopping me from playing this pass. All of these players are committed over here on the left-hand side, because this is where the play was going down originally. There's a really easy pass, and to be fair, it's not an easy pass playing a long ball like this, but guess what happens? He gets the ball, boom, straight into the middle, into this space, and again, the player, he's gotten free into space, he hasn't been marked, so completely unawares from the kind of defenders here, like, oh, this is the danger man, they don't get close enough to him, and he's going to play a first time ball over the top for his winger to get onto, and eventually he, unfortunately, this ends up in a foul, but this could very well be another opportunity for them to, you know, get the ball into the box. And it comes immediately from that first move, with Jorginho just moving players around all the time. Now, this is an example of a few things. We've got Jorginho in the central role here, and firstly, it's an example of him dropping between the centre backs and kind of being that anchor, as it will, and allowing, for example, Varela on this right hand side, which I'm not sure you can even see, he's off the screen here. He's, you know, complete loads of space up the pitch, and again, the left back is also kind of progressing further up the pitch as well, and he allows him to do this. And I think the reason why he does this at times is to kind of stop teams that are pressing and kind of trying to alleviate the pressure and make it easier for them to play out from the back when they are getting pressed, because again, as I said, Tunis in this game did decide to actually start pressing in the second half a little bit more, and they were a bit more intense with it, and I think that is something we need to do against Jorginho. And we'll see from this how this progresses. Like, again, it gets another opportunity for Jorginho to get the ball into space and try and play it forward. So he's gonna drop here. Firstly, this is just the first thing I want to show. He drops in between the centre backs here, and because of this, obviously he gets the ball. You can see the high press that they're actually doing now. They're actually being a bit more intense with the press, and they're going to escape this press pretty easily. Ball obviously goes to the central player. He's going to play it out wide here into this player who's got space, and they kind of get out. And eventually, what's going to end up happening is they've navigated the ball. Jorginho has kind of, in the previous kind of part of this move, he's kind of directed a lot of the players' attentions over to this right hand side. He's obviously got the ball, they've gotten the ball out to this player, and he's looking to play this long pass, and Jorginho is like, hey, play it this way, and he's like drifting this way to try and kind of attract the attention this way. The ball goes the opposite direction though, and he immediately runs the opposite way, and he's going to receive the ball in this pocket of space here. And watch what he does. So this is very interesting. Gets the ball again in space here, and he's immediately again first thought. Most players when they're kind of being surrounded here and they don't see many options would think, "Ooh, safe pass is going back here. You know, keep a hold of the ball, or maybe like spin around, play it back to centre backs. Let's progress again." He doesn't do this. He says, "You know what? The ball's going forward." He gets the first touch and he's immediately like, "Ball's going forward." Unfortunately, because of the pressure, and we'll talk about that a little bit later, because of the pressure, he doesn't get his pass exactly right. It goes behind the player he's trying to play it to, and it goes off. But it's another kind of example of what he wants to do. And the final thing we're going to look at today is his assist in that game. This is again, we just gotta give him credit where credit's due. This is phenomenal, a really really good assist, and the finish at the end of it is absolutely sublime as well. Ball has obviously come from the left hand side. It's been switched all the way over, and it's falling to Varela, who again is completely unmarked. No pressure on him, and it's going to be a really quick movement that gets them the goal here. In the fact that he's going to pick up the ball and Jorginho is going to move into the space. He's going to like move into support, and these players are obviously focusing on the ball now, and even though they're not getting tight enough that I would prefer, they're expecting the ball to go in because again, Varela does that all the time. He's a good deliverer of the ball. He gets the ball wide, he plays the ball in. So they're not really focused on Araujo here, who is in the box on his own, and they're also not really focused on Jorginho. Even though this player's playing him a bit of attention, it's not kind of, urgency to get in front of him or anything because he's kind of expecting the ball to go this way. As we play the clip on, Jorginho is going to get the ball and he's going to first time pass this. And again, this is something that we saw a lot of when he was playing for Chelsea, where he would try and do these little, when he gets the ball square, he plays it in behind type things. He tries to do this all the time, and the ball is going to be dinked straight into Araujo here. And it's not only a great pass to get it completely past the player here, really, really tight margins here, but just credit where credit's due to Araujo here because this finish is absolutely sublime, genuinely sublime. Takes one touch, and again, it is part of the reason why he's able to take that touch and get the shot off is because the weight of the pass from Jorginho is so good. He doesn't need to stop it dead, or he doesn't have to chase after his touch or anything. He gets the ball, turns, and then look at this, bang, beautiful into the bottom left hand corner. And what can you say? That's quality. But he gets that opportunity in that space because again, beautiful, very intricate kind of forward-thinking, line-breaking pass from Jorginho, and that's just something he does every single game he plays, and it's something that we're going to have to look out for. So how do we actually combat this? What is the way that we can stop Jorginho from dictating this game? Well, it's something that we saw a lot of in Chelsea Blue when he played for us, and it's something that we can kind of do again here, where he is a very good player, and it's hard with these types of technical players to high press a technical player like this because he can like just pass it around you. But I think that is genuinely the solution we need here. It's high pressure on him but also his teammates, because he's a player that again with that slow possession style that they like to play, if you give him time and space on the ball and you allow him to get into these pockets of space like I've kind of spoken about and allow him to play the pass that he wants, they will very easily be able to play forward. If you make that more difficult, obviously it's more difficult. If you kind of press him and stop him from being able to play the perfect pass every time, they're not going to have as much success. And we saw a good example of this in that previous game, where in the first half, ES Tunis were not pressing at all. They were sitting back and trying to absorb pressure, and because of that he basically just kept getting on the ball and was able to just play the ball forward at will. In the start of the second half, they actually decided, you know what, we're going to relentlessly press this team, and they did much better. Obviously they still lost the game, and let's be real, the discrepancy in the quality of the two sets of players was very high in that game, so that was inevitable. But they actually gave it a really good effort and actually started making some inroads in the second half because they kept pressing really high. And again, it's Jorginho. He's still the same Jorginho that we kind of saw at Chelsea, but he's always been that slow player. He's not a player that wants to be getting constantly pressed. He's not a player that's going to evade a press and then play the ball forward. He's a player that will more than likely say, hey, let's just keep the ball and pass backwards if he's pressed. And eventually, after loads and loads of pressing, they are going to give the ball away. Not every single player in this team is not technical enough, or as technical as Jorginho, to kind of, be able to find those special passes. I think if we play our press as well as we kind of did at times versus LAFC and kind of force them to give us the ball back, we're going to be able to make those opportunities happen. I think Delap is going to be a player that's very, very integral here for us because of this. And if this is Jackson, he can do the same thing. Obviously, we know how good Jackson's pressing is. I've put Delap in here just because I think it would be fair to both strikers for one of them to start one game, one of them to start the other game, and then like the third group game, we can kind of decide which one we want to start with. I think Delap was very, very good in that previous game, and he's a player that causes a lot of chaos. That's the thing which I like about him, and the reason why I put him into this game specifically is that he will make this game scrappy, he will make this game uncomfortable, and that's the main thing. We don't want to let Flamengo get comfortable, because when they get comfortable and they get players like Jorginho on the ball that can kind of dictate play, they're just going to pass it around us and get goals. It's very obvious that they can do that to us, regardless of the sets of two players. Tactically, they can do that to us. He is a player that makes that very, very difficult to do, and he's a player that makes it much more rushed and a much more kind of less controlled from them and more a bit erratic, right? Even if they are still being able to pop the ball around and, you know, under that pressure they're able to navigate the ball, it's not going to be what they want to do because they don't have the time to kind of think about every single pass, you know, get it into specific areas, for example, going the ball forward up to kind of one of the wingers and then getting an overlap. That's going to be much more difficult if they're constantly having to think, oh, I've got to quickly get the ball away before they lose it. You know, it's very, very hard to think as quickly as as footballers do in general, but very, very hard to think as quickly than when you're being obviously pressed by a very high quality side. And most of the time, it's just either cool, we're going to pass it backwards, or we're going to give the ball away. Now, this is how you kind of stop this type of team working. And again, this is not just specifically for Jorginho. He's one of the players that gets pressed here. And again, I think that him being pressured is something that we need to kind of do in this game. I've spoken about this, but just watch the complete difference between how Flamengo have been navigating the ball in the rest of the game and to kind of now how it happens when eventually the team decides, hey, you know what, we're stepping on you, we're not allowing you to do this anymore. Where before they would be passing it around, it would be really casual, they would have, you know, all the time and space in the world to do things. Now Esperance are going to kind of, you know, make them feel that aggression, make them feel a bit uncomfortable, and ultimately they're going to force them to give them the ball and get an opportunity from it. Now it starts all the way from back here whilst the player's on the ball here. And again, aggressive press again from this player forces the defender back to the goalkeeper. Again, really, really aggressive. He's running onto this. And again, this is something we've seen someone like Nicholas Jackson do. Liam Delap can do this as well, where it's like really, really relentless. This ball this is danger that the player could possibly get on the end of this if he runs quick enough. So the player that's going to receive the ball is like, oh God, I've got to get rid of this as soon as possible. And what ends up happening is the goalkeeper obviously gets the ball. He's going to pass it quickly as soon as he can to go out here. Personally, I think this is probably the wrong decision. I think he should probably go this way. I think it's more easier for him to go this way for the left back to get open his body up and then play this way. So a little bit of a mistake from the goalkeeper, which again is forced because he has to play the ball first time and it's on his right foot, and I believe he's a right-footed player, so has to play it this way. Plays it across to the defender here. We're going to see another press come in from this player. Very good work from this number 11 as well, overall. And again, with that pressure, the ball goes back. We'll skip on a little bit here. As the ball goes to the goalkeeper, again, you can see now the players are in the box, are like really, really stepping up here. And again, there is the option of going here. There's the option of going here. There's the option of just booting it long, which Flamengo do not want to do. But those are the few options. He takes this kind of more safer pass, let's say. And then this player is going to press up really, really high too. And again, eventually the ball's going to go out wide. This pass is rushed because he's under pressure. The ball goes to the defender here. He's pressed as well. He plays it back. And again, this is Flamengo doing what they do best and trying to play around that pressure. They're trying to play out from the back. They're trying to play possession-based football. But eventually, this relentless pressure is going to cause them issues, right? They're not going to be able to keep up this for forever, right? So eventually, again, we'll skip on a little bit here. The ball is going to be launched long. They're going to lose the ball. And it doesn't actually go off the pitch here. It actually goes to one of their players. It looks like it goes off the pitch, but it goes back to East, and they get the ball back just simply because they decide to, you know what, commit to their press. And it doesn't stop there because they're going to they're going to lose the ball here, and they're going to decide, oh well, counter press time, because obviously they lose the ball and they're going to try and Flamengo are trying to progress this forward a little bit. Now, as the ball comes into Jorginho, again, look at how tight this player has got to him. They've not gotten this close to him ever this game. They've never got this close to him. He's really, really close. He rushes him to play this pass backwards immediately and kind of get the ball back, which is something that he doesn't want to do. As we've shown from the examples earlier in the game, what Jorginho wants to do is get his head up and get the ball forward. He doesn't want to go backwards, but he's forced him to go backwards and forced him to stop doing those line breaking passes. And he's going to continue his press. And again, it's going to be a ball into the midfield, very good ball into the midfield. And they should, in theory, get out here, right? It's what they should be able to get out here because they've got the space now. But they don't, because again, because of all of the pressure, all of the kind of, you know, the running that they've had to do, the navigation that they've had to do, the ball is going to be lackadaisical. It's not going to be right here. The ball is going to go, they're obviously going to progress forward. And again, this player says, hey, you know what? No, we're not just going to let you progress it through the middle like you want to. Steps in, intercepts the ball. And from this interception, and again, I'm showing quite a lot of the game here, but like from this interception, they're going to get the ball. They're going to play the ball forward really quickly. And now this is a thing which Chelsea can do very well. It's this transitional attacking play after winning the ball in midfield. And I spoke about this with Caicedo. Again, player who can win the ball in midfield. If he does this and then we get a pass forward from Enzo Fernandez, for example, up to one of our wingers, then you get these types of opportunities. The ball goes over the top to the winger. He's going to eventually get an opportunity to score here. As I said, he gets to the edge of the box here, and again, better player, maybe a bit more quality on the shot, and he would score. But he goes the wrong way. He goes to the near post rather than the far, is what I would probably have gone that way. And the goalkeeper saves it. But again, another opportunity, and then they get a corner from it, and it all starts from that relentless pressure at the start just to give the ball away and for them to make it really scrappy in the middle and just make them uncomfortable. I think this is the main thing about this game, is we need to make Flamengo completely uncomfortable. They cannot have comfort on the ball. They need to be shown that there are levels to the game where you cannot just be expected to pass it out from the back all the time. Eventually you will have to hoof it long. You will have to, you know, find other avenues of creating attacks, because against really, really elite teams and elite pressing teams, and Chelsea is one of those, you can't do this. And this is against a team that aren't the greatest quality opposition, and they still fell victim to this just because, again, relentless pressure is something that every single footballer on the earth, including the world-class ones like Jorginho, cannot deal with all the time. Overall, I think this is going to be a very interesting tactical battle, and I think that we will come out on top. I'm not gonna expect us to lose this game at all. I think it'll be closer than a lot of people probably will expect in terms of kind of how we deal with this opposition. But for the most part, if we follow these kind of guidelines that I put down and we put in a professional performance, I think this will be quite easy for us to win this game. And with a win here and a loss for ES Tunis in their fixture, we would automatically qualify to the next round. Now, like I'm doing with every single one of these Club World Cup games, I will be doing a live watch along for the match. That will start about half an hour before kickoff, so about 6:30 British Standard Time. So come through if you want to react to that with me. If you enjoyed the video, please leave it a like. It helps out the channel massively. And if you want to see more content like this, subscribe so you don't miss out in the future. Thank you guys so much for watching as ever. And remember, football can be as simple as black and white.
Something ain't right, I'm drowning in the ocean. I'm still alive, but I feel the fall in my ocean. I lost the fight and now I'm finally floating, but I still try to hide my emotion. Who am I in pieces? I've been broken. It's black and white, but my